Hey, everybody, welcome to What's Up Columbia. I'm interviewing Rachel Peck today from 431 Ministries, and we've done some articles on their ministries in the past, but I've never actually interviewed you in person. So this is really great. So you're coming up on is it your 8th anniversary?
Yes, actually,
Awesome.
this Sunday will be 8 years of ministry here in Middle Tennessee.
Wow. And so maybe give just a little overview snapshot of what your ministry does, and then let's get into your story.
Yeah, sounds good. So we serve any woman who has experienced a life-changing event. Think widow, single mom, those coming out of domestic violence, abuse, abandonment, really just those hard things of life that make us realize who we were and how we did things and where we are today. And that kind of connection needs some kind of shift or change. And so we work with those ladies. They find themselves at our doorstep for a variety of reasons, but really it's that what they've tried before is no longer working now and they want something different. And so
Okay.
we do classes and coaching and one-on-one opportunities, and we have developed this whole process of what does it mean to re-examine independence after a hardship.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. So I've heard a little bit of your story from the website. And so
Yep.
how you started is really cool. So tell us about how it all started.
Yeah, so that was actually 10 years ago this past January.
Okay.
And so back in 2016, my husband and I were both working corporate jobs, and there was a woman who just walked into the office that I worked at the time. We were a Christian organization, and so she went to the front desk and said, "Hey, I know you guys are a Christian organization. You're supposed to help people. Here's my story. I'm about to be homeless. I don't know where to go from here." Today, in the context of 431, we would call that the moment of courageous vulnerability.
Wow.
Here is where I'm at. Here's my problem. And I don't know what you can do to help, but I need help. And so, to their credit, they took her seriously.
Okay.
Not many companies would, but they sent out a company wide email and said, "Hey, this woman walked in. She needs help. If anyone has a mother in law suite or a guest
Hmm.
bedroom or a cheap apartment that they could connect her with, like she's agreed to share her contact information. It's kind of on you guys." And
Wow.
so I read that and was like, well, we have a guest room, but it doesn't really count. Like, we live in 700 square feet. So our 9 by 9 guest room is barely a guest room, barely fits a bed in it. Like,
So
it's
this is
not
a
going to be
lady with
us.
a child also.
With a child,
Yeah.
yeah, with a
Okay.
9-year-old. Yep. And a cat, as we
Wow.
found out later.
Oh, okay.
And so I forwarded it to my husband. He also worked in corporate. I knew he had hundreds of people with larger homes than ours, and said, "Surely someone there will say yes." I'll say, "Bless her from afar. My part will be done." And
Yeah.
this is the end of the story. And yet, in God's sovereignty, that's not the end of the story because we're sitting here today. And
Wow.
my husband, he
Huh.
said that we needed to do something about it. And so we invited her into our home at that point. Actually, we heard more about her story first because I'm still like not convinced. We have a single bathroom in our 700 square
Right,
feet,
right.
and sharing a
Wow.
bathroom with a stranger was just not
Yeah.
something that I thought I would ever be comfortable with.
And how old
And
were you
so
guys? How old were you and your husband?
we were 23. We thought we knew
Amazing.
everything. Yeah,
And
we
you're
thought
in
we knew
Spring
everything.
Hill at the time or
Technically, it was a Columbia address, but on Highway 431 between Duplex and Kedron. And
okay.
so,
And that's where the
really
name
closer to
comes
Spring
from.
Hill. That is where the name comes
Okay.
from. Yep. That and
Wow.
Exodus 431, which we'll get to in a minute.
Okay, okay.
But anyways, so we heard her story. She had been targeted for being a single mom. She had the education, she had the job, she had the car, she had the housing, she had all of it. She had pieces of stability, as we call it today. But she was targeted for being a single mom, and someone spent months at her job wearing her down, telling her all the right things to get her to trust him, and moved her into an apartment she couldn't afford and put a contract on the table with a list of things that she had to do to make up for the money that she borrowed. And
Oh,
so
no.
she threw it at him and said, made a really bold and brave choice and said, "I'd rather be homeless than to have my daughter
Yeah.
grow up in this situation." But he was very careful. He made sure to not lay a hand on her. There was no physical violence. So she
Mm.
was not eligible for a domestic violence shelter.
Oh.
And she couldn't even go to a homeless shelter because she would have had to give up her child or her full-time job. There's no childcare in a shelter.
Oh. Wow.
And so if your job does not line exactly with your child's school hours, you have to give up
Yeah.
your job. And so we heard her story, heard that this is not an ongoing cycle of kind of systems, but that the system worked against her, and that the system as it was set up in Middle Tennessee forced women into crisis in
Yeah.
order to give them help. And we said, okay, someone's got to do something about that. And
Wow.
we thought it was just that one, just us, just this time.
Yeah.
And so that was where it all started. She and her
So,
daughter lived with us
okay.
for 9 months. And so they
Wow.
moved in 24 hours after seeing the 9 by 9 room with the queen bed. They agreed to share. We had a cat of our own. And so the two of them
Oh.
became friends too.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so we just did life together. We celebrated birthdays, graduations, promotions. There's a whole story about a car that I could tell you, but it's just great. Like the whole thing was life changing for everybody.
How long had you
Um,
guys been married at that point?
we'd been married for just over 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
So we were
And
still newlyweds in a lot of ways.
you guys weren't, this isn't the kind of thing that you were thinking about in the back of your mind of like doing this kind of thing, or
Well,
maybe
we knew
even, yeah.
we wanted to be in ministry. Like that was
Right.
something that we had always kind of had in the back of our heads. We thought it would be with youth and kind of that overlooked
Right.
category. Didn't know what that would look like. We're open to pretty much anything.
Yeah.
And had actually just bought our farm a year before. And so we hadn't been
Oh,
even living in that tiny little farmhouse for very long before we
okay.
said something more can be done with this.
Yeah.
But we thought it would be more involved in kind of the farming homestead community. My husband's background is in farming up in Western New York. And
Oh,
so,
wow. Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
So very, very different from
Yeah.
where we've ended up with 431 10 years later.
Wow. So did you guys get along as people? Like, were you like a good fit, like personality wise and all that stuff? Were you friendly?
Yes and
Like,
no.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes and no. She was 37 when she moved in with
Oh,
us.
wow. So big. Yeah.
And yeah, and so there were definitely things. Again, part of the story is that like I had never grown up in I kind of was in more of a bubble growing up. And
Yeah.
so this was all new to me, this idea of being a single parent and the struggles and the hardships that came with that.
Right.
And so there were definitely some bumps and hurdles and some things like Justin and I really had to be on the same page with things and know
Yeah.
where the boundary was. But we became good friends.
Uh,
And we still are in contact. We went to her daughter's high school graduation a couple years ago.
uh,
Like it's just been a great life-changing relationship for everybody.
wow. What a cool. Okay. So what happened after that?
So 2 years later, we
Okay.
thought, again, this is just kind of Justin and Rachel. Um, our neighbor approached us, who lived across the street, and they lived in a commercial building that they had renovated into a home. And their granddaughter lived with them on and off. She had been through pretty much any situation that you can possibly think of, any hardship you could imagine. She went through it and then some.
Hmm.
And so she actually attempted her life.
Oh.
And her grandfather reached out to us and said, "Hey, we watched what you did with the last woman that lived with you. Like, can you just help us in any way?"
Oh,
And
wow.
again, at that point, I had left my corporate job. I was farming full time. My husband still worked at his job.
Oh,
And
really?
so, yeah. And so I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I can go sit and do some research maybe. Like, I can Google, basically, was kind of what I thought. And I remember sitting with her grandmother at their kitchen table and calling place after place after place that restricted based on demographics. Okay,
Yeah.
because you dealt with this, but not this, we can't take you. Because you've done this and this, we can't take you. Because you've worked with this and tried this, we can't take you. And I remember sitting there and being like, well, what does someone do? What does someone do if they don't fit the demographic?
Right.
And her grandmother looked at me and was like, "Well, can you do anything?" Like, and I was like, I don't know what you would want me to do." And she was just like, I just don't know, but like none of these things are working. Can you just come and just kind of help us figure out how to take care of her, how to love her? And
Wow.
so we
And how
did.
old is the granddaughter?
She was 20 at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
So she was younger.
Yeah.
And so I was finally older than someone I worked with. Um, but I just showed up. Like, that was the biggest thing that she needed, and her grandmother would let me into the house, and I'd go sit on the edge of the bed. I didn't have any counseling background. I didn't have any psychology degree, nothing. I just knew how to love. And
Right.
so I would just show up at the end of her bed and just kind of talk at her until she'd get up and go do something with me. And she again came and did life, and she ate
Wow.
meals with us, even living across the street. She'd come to our house for dinner. We'd take pigs to the
Oh,
butcher. We'd go milk goats and do farmers
wow.
markets. And again,
Okay.
it was that side by side living. And that's where
Yeah.
the name today of our main flagship program comes from, because it's not that I have answers. It's not that our advocates are professionals in mental health. We've
Right.
just seen stuff, we've lived stuff, and we love well. And we
Yeah.
teach others to do the same. And so our mentors step in and they come in and they go, I will walk side by side with you. I will
Yeah.
show up at the hospital, at the jail,
Yeah.
at the whatever, side by side with you and help you figure this out one step at a time with
Yeah.
my resources added and your resources added. And that's how people change.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so simple, but I mean some of the things I've experienced, it's just people in my life, and that's all it's all it's needed. Somebody to say, okay, I'll take 2 hours and I'm gonna help you Google this out, or I'm gonna help
Yes.
make these phone calls or drive you to this appointment. It's
Yes.
just having somebody who can love you, or
Yeah.
in a practical way, not just give you a hug,
Yes.
or you know,
Yes.
um, set aside their own life and their time and care for you. You know,
Yes. Yes. And
yeah,
whatever way, shape, or form is necessary. But yeah, we give away three things at 431, and we kind of harp on this, but we give away time, community, and education. And
cool.
those three things are pivotal to 90% of the problem. It's either
Yeah,
a time problem, it's a community problem, which comes, resourcefulness, asking for help, all of that, or it's an education problem. You didn't know there was a different way, so you're just stuck
yeah,
in the way that you did it before. And
right.
so if you can focus on those three things and really dig in, because really it's all about the beliefs. Each of us make all of our life decisions on subconscious beliefs and expectations about
Hmm.
ourselves, the world, those around us. And so the more that we can kind of become aware of that and recognize, oh, I'm making this financial decision because of this in my past, or this is what I believe about myself, and therefore I'm going to spend money in this way, then that
Yep.
lets you go, okay, do I want to keep this belief? Do I want to keep this, or does this go against what I've stated as my goals?
Yeah, yeah. So what was the next thing? How did this move forward after? So you had this 20-year old, and then
Hmm.
so these are
Her
clearly
grandfather then, yeah,
unique experiences that kind of are
completely different.
pushing you in a
Yes.
direction that's really cool.
Yeah.
So what's
Yep.
next?
So then from there, her grandfather approached us and said, her life's changed. She's not the same person. We've tried for years to reach her and help her, and we don't know what you did, but you did it. How she came to know the Lord, came to church with us. And that, I mean, that's ultimately the difference. It's not really a
Yeah,
magic answer that 431 has, other than
right.
capital H hope. Um
Yes, yes.
in those encounters. But he came to us and said, "Okay, I want you to do more. So I'm going to sell you a commercial building for what I paid for it in 1999." Our home. And I was like, we were like, well, we can't afford that, first of all. Second of all, like, thank you for that offer. That's very generous. And there's like, this is just Justin and Rachel. Like, there's nothing behind this. It's just kind of our spare time. And he was
Wow.
like, okay, just, let me know when you're ready. And we were like, okay, not really thinking much of it. And we went to
So wait,
church
this
that
was
week.
the grandfather of
This
that.
is the grandfather of
Okay. Okay.
that girl.
Wow. Okay.
And so the family saw the difference. And so we just kind of went, okay, thanks. We'll keep that in mind type thing, and not really planning to keep it in mind. And
Mm-hmm.
we went to church that Sunday, and a guest pastor was speaking, and he looked into the audience and he said, someone here is being called to full-time ministry, and if you say no, you're being disobedient. And I made eyes with my husband, and he looked at me, and we both went, oh, that's us. Like, we knew unequivocally that we were being called to
Wow.
ministry to do something. And so we met with our pastors, and we were like, now what? Like, we're 25. We still, like, now at this point, we're starting to realize we don't know everything. And we're like, well, what do we do now? Like, where do we go from here? What do we do? And they're like, well, we've got an attorney in our church who will file the paperwork for you to become a nonprofit. And we were like, well, what does that look like? Like, do we, like, what's our mission? What's our vision? Like, what does that mean, filing a nonprofit? So immediately started doing a whole bunch of research. And on May 10th, 2018, met with that attorney, signed the paperwork with a third board member, had found a third board member in this process. And our initial mission was to tend to the needs of the overlooked and underserved women of Middle Tennessee, offering them hope
Yeah.
and a plan for an independent future. Because we
Okay.
really saw that as, like, the word tend, and our phone number today, 8363 431 8363, spells out tend.
Okay.
But it comes from the Old English word for going behind.
Huh.
Like, to tend in Old English has this picture of letting the sheep walk where they want to, and all your job is to make sure they don't fall back. And that's what we wanted to
Mm.
do. Our job is not
Yeah.
to say, your goal is here. Your life is supposed to look like this. That's always been the heart of 431, is like, what do you want? What is God calling you to? What is your life supposed to look like? It's not going to look like Rachel Peck's. It's not going to
Right.
look like any of the other staff here. Your life is going to be your life, is going to be your life. And you are given the God-given authority to make those decisions and to make those goals and to chase those dreams. And we will keep sure that you keep going forward and tend you from falling back.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. So you get a building. What does
So
this
we didn't
mean? It's just an
actually end up
office?
we didn't
Okay.
end up buying it for another
Okay.
2 years
Oh,
and
wow.
then selling it again. We never really did ministry in that building. It was a
Okay.
whole separate chapter that I still am like, okay, God, other than the asset and the gift of funds that was, like, was there any other purpose to that
Hmm.
other than a savings account? It was an
Okay.
incredible gift.
Hmm.
That has been incredibly useful, especially in this economy.
Wow.
But yeah, so we started the ministry, and actually 2019 became a kind of a sabbatical year for us unexpectedly. We were told we could never have children, and I found myself unexpectedly pregnant with our oldest.
Oh,
And
amazing.
so had a really, really rough pregnancy and a really rough recovery, and that basically
Yeah.
took up the entirety of 2019.
Right.
But we had raised some funds to purchase the building.
Oh.
And that led us to January of 2020. And I remember praying on January 1st and being like, I could just walk away. Like, we've got a 6-month-old at this point. Like, are we even called to this anymore? We're not getting referrals like we were. We're not getting, like, no one needs help, is what I remember telling God.
Right.
And within the first week of 2020, we got 14 calls when we had
Wow.
had 2 for the 365 days prior.
Okay. Wow.
And I remember sitting back and being like, okay, well, you made that one clear. Like, so I'm
Yeah.
not supposed to just keep going. In the midst of all this, my husband has had some devastating health things going on. So I became full-time caregiver during that season, was raising a 6-month-old, running a business, running the farm, and trying to do this ministry. And I went to our board of directors and was like, I either get paid or we got to shut this thing down.
Right.
Because I can't do this alone. And I can't do this. Like, I either need to put other things to the side and do this,
Yeah.
or we put this to bed. And
So were you helping people through that time?
We were,
Like,
yes.
but
Yep.
was it like more? Was it? Were you hooking people up to stay with other people if they needed a place
All
to
of it.
stay? Just
All
all
of it
kinds of
from,
things.
yeah, an interconnector. We had multiple families during that season who stepped forward and said, I've got a guest room. I've got a mother-in-law
Okay.
suite. I've got an apartment above the garage. And so that was what 2020 was for the most part, was early renditions of the side-by-side program in its
Wow.
entirety,
So a
where
network of
we
people
were,
grew
yes,
around that.
yes, very
Wow.
rapidly. People just
Oh,
saw the need and saw, okay, like, I need to be part of this. We need to be part of this, and helped
wow.
everything from a 18-year-old who was abandoned at a hospital, out of foster care,
Hmm.
to a widow who was restarting, and everything in between. We've seen crazy stories like that. That I often lovingly call that season like the Wild West of 431, because we were still
Okay.
figuring out what
Yeah.
the program really was, how to truly help people beyond just
Yeah.
letting them live in our house,
Right.
and like how do we continue to lead them towards ultimate life change. And so that was just that whole season, 21, 20, 2020, 21, all through COVID, all through kind of the recovery from COVID, was all about what does this actually look like to grow and to make sure this is sustainable, not just for our family, but for those who come after us, for the advocates that
Yeah.
come. Like, we're not going to hire staff and be like, and being part of staff means you have someone in your living room like we did,
Right.
like
Right.
how do we help people with it being a little bit more um growable, really? How do we help more? And
Yeah.
so 2021, at the end of 2020, I remember reading a statistic that said about 72% of single moms thought about attempting suicide during COVID. And I
72%.
couldn't tell
Wow.
you where I saw the statistic, couldn't,
Yeah.
I've searched for it again.
Huh.
But I remember reading that and being like, oh, this is a problem. This is a
Yeah.
major problem. This is an isolation problem. This is no one understands me problem.
Yeah.
What if we got them all in a room? What if we got them and helped them understand that their stories were known and seen and loved?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what could we do with that? And I kind of pitched this idea to my board, who was like, oh, how are we gonna, like, how big of an event are you thinking? I was like, I don't know, like 150 maybe women. Like, again, we've done this one at a time, right? We're serving like 7 to 14 women a year at this point.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I want to get like 150 women in the room. And they were like, well, we don't know how that's going to happen. And it was around Christmas time. And I had someone, a volunteer, say, well, have you ever thought about reaching out to Nicole C. Mullen? And I was like, no, why would I think of that?
Is that
Like
she's like a gospel artist, right? Or
yep, yep.
okay, right.
I grew up listening to her music. And so for me, it was like this unreachable person. Like, why
Yeah.
would I think of reaching out to her for Rachel
Right.
Peck's little event? And I sent an email and was like, here's my idea. Here's why I want to do it. If you're at all interested, like, let me know. And it was kind of my, like, Lord, if you want this to happen, let it be crazy.
Yeah.
Fleece before the Lord.
Yeah. Right.
And she replied within like an hour. And I got a call from her manager that was
Wow.
like, she's in. Tell her when and where. Tell her what you want. And she goes, I need to tell you, like, COVID's been hard, but she told me that she will do this event for whatever price you decide she's worth.
uh,
And I just remember just crying and just being like, what
uh,
is this? Like, what is happening with this ministry? What are you doing? And we had 172 women in that church. And
wow.
there are women still to this day that we've served that will tell us years later, like, I was there. I was in that room.
Mm,
That made a difference for my life. We had women connect and build businesses out of that first event. We had like all kinds of different things happen out of that celebration. And that
wow.
was our outreach event for many years, until too many women were coming to us that we couldn't handle the after effects of doing an outreach event that large. I would
Wow.
love to get back to that point one day. But
Wow.
yeah.
And what church was that? I'm just curious to
Yeah,
since
that
it's
was held at
probably local.
Destiny Church. Yep,
Okay. And
Destiny
where is
Church,
that?
just off the square in Columbia.
Right. I knew that. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. That's right by. You always walk like They have like a
Yeah,
coffee shop and
they
stuff.
do.
Yeah.
Tennessee Coffee
Yeah.
and Smoothie. So
Right.
they
Right.
were
Very
part of it
cool.
too. They opened up the shop during that event, gave free coffees to everyone. We
Wow.
had um, more than $40,000 donated to put on that event, to do it. And one of my favorite things that we've always done at the celebration and done whenever possible is that we chose, instead of doing like a single centerpiece for each table, we got florists to give flowers and bought flowers and did individual bouquets for every single
Oh.
woman. And we held it on Valentine's Day. And
Mm.
every single one of those women got to take that bouquet home. And for many of them, it was the first Valentine's Day that they did not spend alone.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. And so have you done those events through
We
the
did. So
years?
we did it.
Okay.
We 25 was our first year that we did not have the capacity to do it because so many women were coming to our smaller regular classes, coming to get poured into on a
Mm.
deeper level instead of just
Yeah.
this one-time kind of shock for the year thing.
Yeah.
They were showing up throughout it, that it very quickly became overwhelming. And where we had served, 75 to 150 people all in one room beginning of the year, we are now serving, 75 unique women in 2 months. And so it was just like, okay, we need to not we can't promise this event and promise that we'll follow up with you and offer that to 150 new women. We need to make
Right.
sure, because that would be a wait list of 6 to 8 months
Wow.
before being paired with an advocate at this point. And so we
Okay.
made the painful decision to kind of pull back on that event and say, no, we're going to do smaller. We're going to focus on that education, focus on that. And then again, one day I hope that we have the capacity to rebring that event back, because that would
Right.
be incredible.
Wow. So, okay, so I'm seeing uh, that's what an amazing need that is for the whole. I mean, it's probably all over the country,
Yeah.
Um, so what?
Yeah, one
Um,
one in 4 households in Maury County. Actually, it's almost 1 in 3 in Maury County are single women led households. Per the U.S.
yeah,
Census Bureau, there is no partner or spouse involvement whatsoever,
yeah.
and about
Wow.
40% of that statistic have children under the age of 18. And so there's a
Do you
huge
know what the
number just in our
nationwide
neighbors.
stat is? Is there a
I
nationwide
know
stat?
that. No, I pulled county by county data from the
Okay.
U.S. Census Bureau and was able to do
Yeah.
that. I have pulled it for
Okay.
all of what is considered Middle Tennessee,
Yeah.
and that is in all 40 counties, it's 1 in 4. 25% of
Okay.
households
Okay.
in Middle Tennessee across 40
Wow.
counties are single women-led households.
Oh my. Wow. So before I start crying here, what happens? So you what's the best next place for us to talk about? What should we talk about? Like, or maybe there's I just want to know. I want to make sure we make the most of our time, and I mean I could
Yeah,
just ask you
absolutely.
questions forever, but like I don't know. Maybe
I
there's
think what's
a
helpful
yeah,
to bring it to, like, what are we doing today
right,
and where are the needs? Because it's all of those tendrils still exist. That vision, that mission, that making sure that women are cared for one at a time is still very much our heart and our passion.
yeah,
But today it's extremely structured, and it's and we've just heard feedback that it's that much better for being structured, for knowing, okay, this is my next step with 431 and the next thing for
yeah,
my life. And so women today are given 2 options. They do an intake with us, and they have a call so that we get first of all, we hear their story. Too many women feel like they're completely alone in this and never get the chance to just like
yeah,
spill their heart, to spill
yeah.
everything that's within them in a safe environment outside of like paying for a counselor. So our intake specialists give them that honor to be able to hold that space for that.
And they do that on the phone, or do they do that in
That
person?
first one's on the phone.
Okay.
And then they're given the option on that phone call to take our Restore Me assessment and compare it to their life. And that Restore Me assessment tracks 16 life skills that are the
Mm-hmm.
basis for everything. Again, that safety, finances, planning, communication commitments, those things are critical for
Yeah.
maintaining jobs, housing, good co-parenting relationships, long-term careers, whatever that is, good neighborhood relationships. You need those 5 skills for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
From there, we build on relational skills, and those are done asking for help, building community, learning who to trust and who not to trust. What are those rules of safety around you, keeping women from going
Mm.
back into crisis? How do you put rhythms of stability in your life? Because it's not habits that keep us going. It's rhythms that ebb and flow with the change of things, and being able to be flexible when flexibility is needed and be rigid when it's not. How do you not only set goals like in planning, but achieve them? How do you follow through on those really hard days? Those are all relational skills. You have to do those in community with other people. And so those are
Yeah.
built in
Yeah.
relationship through our side-by-side program. And then we have an optional emotional spiritual component where we go back to the Bible and we say, okay, what does God say about independence? What does God say about your value? What does God say
Okay.
about your emotional health? And we go to scripture and say, here's what we've learned. Here's what we've seen. Here are practical tools. The Bible had the gratitude journal long before psychology realized that gratitude actually
Yeah.
did
Right.
something. The Bible had an anxiety toolbox through Elijah showing get up, rest, eat something, drink something, long before anxiety
Yeah.
said, psychologists said, okay, for anxiety, you can't just kind of wallow. All of these
Yeah.
things we pull out and we show them, like, this is where the scripture is, but this is how we're interpreting it in your life. And so that gives them a chance in all of those classes to just be a class client, just come and kind of glean tools and kind of
Mm-hmm.
do it kind of separate. But
Yeah.
most of our women choose to do our optional known, seen, love stages. And that's where we go deeper. That's where we go, okay, Susie, we talked about how in planning, you can't plan every waking minute of your day. You've got to give yourself some margin to actually accomplish some things. How do you build margin into your life? Okay, now that we're talking about margin, this is bringing up that you don't have, like, every time you give yourself margin, you're overwhelmed by the emotions. Let's go over here and connect it to the emotions class. Let's pull this. Let's go and see. And so we take the tools then and those known, seen, love stages translate it individually. And that's what our advocates do. And then that's what our side-by-side program. And our side-by-side program today is not just me anymore, thank goodness, but now is a whole care team of a personal mentor, a financial mentor, a licensed professional counselor, and a staff advocate. And those people wrap around one woman at a time, and they will
Mm.
spend up to a year in her life pouring
Wow.
in, helping her get new jobs, new housing, figure out family relationships, figure out parenting woes, figure out whatever it is that she's like, I'm struggling with today, and teaches how to be vulnerable, how to ask for help, how to be resourceful in community live, and
Yeah.
building that muscle to kind of release her. And she's
Wow.
okay from there.
Right. That's amazing. And like, and so I'll just tell the people listening, like, if you go to their website, you can see a lot of this stuff
Yep.
spelled out. Looks like you've developed a real practical system that's dealing
Yep.
with a lot of these things you were kind of learning by doing at the beginning. And, but so how long have you been doing these systems or classes or things that you're doing?
We started the classes in 23. And so
Okay.
those develop slowly. There's so much more to do. Like, our big
Yeah.
vision is every single one of those 16 areas of life is to have some kind of class or workshop related to it. And so
Right.
only 2 of those Bible studies out of the 5 renew categories, the renewing hope, are currently developed. Like, that's
Hmm.
something that we need funding for, to get people excited about developing that class for independence. The
Mm.
side-by-side program is, we have a mentor training and we walk very closely with them, but asking for help, resourcefulness, building community, all of those can be done kind of in workshop where we present theory and then do this practical life together piece of it. And so
Hmm.
that's the dream there, that every piece of what we do at 431, everything we've learned along the way becomes a packageable, spreadable, pick upable by churches and other nonprofits
Mm.
throughout the world, so that our
Right. Right.
vision to be a place where every woman is known, seen, loved, it's not a Columbia thing. It's
Yeah.
not a Spring Hill thing. It's not a Maury County and Williamson County. Every single woman needs this. I
Yeah.
believe it firmly.
Right.
And so we want to make sure, like, that's my big vision. That's my big goal in this next season
Yeah.
out of clients. I graduated my last client 2 weeks ago. And so
Okay.
I'm out of client work entirely,
Okay.
working on this vision to
Okay.
get more people to understand the need,
Right.
understand that we're here, and understand that A, they can find hope, and B, they can give hope.
Right. So if there's someone who needs help right now,
Yes.
are they able to just call and be taken
Yep.
care of, or are you too
It's a
backed up?
scheduled right now, actually. Well, we'll see. Knock on wood, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
After this interview, right now it's a pretty quick. Within a week or so, our intake specialists have time. There are
Okay.
times and seasons like last October we had a record number of new requests for help, and so that was about a 4 to 6 week wait time. But
Okay.
right now it's pretty quick.
Okay. So
Yep.
if there, so I'm curious, how do you need more volunteers, or how does this work? I'm sure you need things.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody wants to volunteer or be a part of what you're doing, is there an easy way for them to jump into that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a new volunteer application on our website. We have a full-time volunteer coordinator. Her specialty is to connect people with their giftings to our places. So even if you
Awesome.
like look at the website and you're like, I don't quite know what I fit into, but I really love what you do, we've
Yeah.
got a place for you. And she's got a
Okay.
whole list. Like we had a guy come in, she had a guy come in. We have to change locks in our new Columbia location because for some reason a bathroom does not have a lock and an office does. And
Oh,
so, like, there's random things like that
right.
where we just need to know, okay, you're available for projects, for office, for picking up the
Yeah.
phone, for spreading the word. We have
Right.
to turn down opportunities all the time to go be in the community because we don't have enough people
Yeah.
to be at everything that we're invited to.
Right. So it's not just women that you
Nope,
need. You need guys,
we do.
kids, all
Yep.
kinds of people. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. All
Wow.
different areas, like, I mean, there's certain things that we save for certain individuals, so you do have to sign a statement of faith to be a mentor. You do have
Okay.
to be a woman to be a mentor. We're never gonna
Right.
pair a man with a woman.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but you can be a married couple and do financial mentoring. And we
Okay.
have several married couples who have done that and walked with clients through the side by side journey. And sometimes
Awesome.
that's really helpful, especially if it's a widow or someone who has experienced like her husband always doing the finances. Then it kind of gives it an extra little like, okay, this is what I needed to hear from you and to see you working together on this because I never got that opportunity. And that provides its own type of feeling to see that interaction.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I mean, a lot of this stuff, I mean, I I I know it's for women, but like people all over the place, we aren't developed in all the ways we should be. And
Yep.
a lot of us just that just becomes a weakness in our life that we deal with for our whole life,
Yep.
unless maybe a friend points it out to us, or maybe your uncle or somebody older than you or something that says, "Hey, let me sit you down for a second. I noticed this." A lot of us don't have those people in our lives,
Yes.
and
And that's the
so
biggest thing that we really do offer is just someone who's willing to know you enough to point out, "Hey, what if you grew in this way?
yeah,
What if this was an option for coaching for you? What
yep,
if, and doing it in a way that's like, again, they're in control of it, but you don't see your own patterns. And so having a third
yeah,
party have a bird eye view and be like, every time we talk about finances, you start eating. What's that
yeah,
about? Like, let's
yeah,
stop
right,
here for a minute and let's talk about it. I'll
yeah,
quickly share one of my favorite stories of a client that just graduated a couple weeks ago. Um, when she was paired with a new financial mentor, this new financial mentor asked, like, what has been your biggest financial accomplishment to this far? And she had never lived independently until working with us. And so I
mm.
thought for sure it was, maintaining her lease for a year and a half.
Oh, okay,
Um, and she was like, let me think about that. And I was like, oh, I thought that would have been an easy question. And she was like, well, there's that, but actually, she goes, when I first sat down with a budget coach through 431, um, it was the first time that I realized I didn't make enough for my spending.
Uh-huh.
And that every time, and specifically in my spending, anytime my 1-year-old got upset, instead of helping her regulate, I would get in the car and we'd go buy a Coke, we'd go buy a toy,
Oh,
we'd just go to the dollar store, we'd leave, we'd spend gas, we'd spend time, I would just change her situation because that's what my family had done. She goes, and when we sat down and I realized how much I made versus how much I was spending, and they didn't match,
yeah.
I had to stop that. And she
Yeah.
goes, and at first I was really angry that I had to stop that. Like it felt very unfair of how hard I'm working and it, was this ever going to get easier? And what was our parenting going to look like if I couldn't give these things to her and couldn't offer this fun to her? And she goes, but I realized a couple weeks ago, she goes, we were playing with a little dinosaur, and the little dinosaur pretended to eat my shoulder, and I told him, "Ow, Mr. Dinosaur, that hurts." And her 1.5-year-old said, "Oh no, Mr. Dinosaur, that's not nice. We need to go and calm our bodies down. Let's take some deep breaths." And she goes, I never would have taught her that if
Ah,
I had not had that budget coach stop me and say, "Why do you buy her emotions?"
yeah. Wow.
And I
Huh.
just sat there and looked at her and was like, you were able to literally connect every single dot that led you to that, saw it as a blessing, saw it as that. Like,
Yeah.
that's what the difference is. It's the
Mm,
perspective shift. Their circumstances may or may not change while working with us.
right.
Sometimes they're exactly the same job, exactly the same house, but they feel better because they
Mm.
have these hope skills. They are
Oh,
confident in whatever life throws their way. They know how to handle it and they know
mm.
where they can come back if they need help.
Wow. That's really awesome. So are uh is I mean is it free for everyone to do these classes and all that stuff? I mean, it's a practical question.
Yeah,
How does that work?
it's
Okay.
completely community funded. And that's really
Okay.
where our biggest need is funds. Like we
Yeah.
always need volunteers, but we want to keep this free. This is needed for every woman. And this move to Columbia, while a godsend, and we're super excited. Like it's an additional 12,000 a year just for our new
Okay.
space, let alone all the utilities and everything on top of that,
Yeah.
that we were not anticipating making a move this year.
Oh, really?
And
So
so it was kind of a little bit of a surprise, but the whole story, like God was very clear, moved us into this space, and we are so excited to be celebrating 8 years. Like there's something so special
so where are you
about having
located in
room to
Columbia?
grow.
Yeah.
We are now at 1511 Nashville Highway, Suite B. So same
Okay.
parking lot as the Superbys, or if you know where the Stubborn Mule is, we're down the sidewalk.
Yes. Okay, got it. Okay. And so that is a place for your offices? Or do you meet
We
clients
have
there or
classes there. We have
okay, great.
client rooms here. We now have like the biggest thing, biggest difference that we're so excited about is we have now a dedicated child space. And so we didn't
Oh.
have that. We had to use just kind of in amongst our front desks, which was a challenge depending on how intent the child was at calling people out from our desk phones. Um, and so being able to have a door that closes, our childcare contractors are very thrilled to be able to have a space that's theirs. They can
Okay.
put up the kids' artwork now because that's the thing too.
Ah,
We serve the moms, but we serve the kids for free. All childcare is provided for free because we never want that to be a barrier for mom to
right.
say, I can't have access to classes because of
Yeah.
kids. And so we do
Wow.
it completely for free so that there's no excuse that you
Yeah.
have a
Oh,
place that
man.
you can find time community education. You can change your life if you choose to do the hard work. We're not going to do it for you, but if you choose to
Yeah.
do it, you will change and we'll help you
Wow.
get there.
So how many kids do you have in the childcare place at a time?
It just depends. I mean, the
Yeah.
most we've had is 14 in a class. We
Okay.
have capped classes to 16. I'm not sure. I
Okay.
haven't seen the Saturdays roster yet to
Right.
know how many.
Wow. Okay.
Most of our women are actually over 30, and a significant portion are actually over 50. And
Okay.
so
Okay.
it's a right now, for whatever reason, we don't have a whole lot of young kids, but the ones like
Okay.
we do have a baby in the mix right now.
Yeah.
And so it just
Wow.
varies class to class, season to
Okay.
season, who's participating.
So if you were to speak to women who might be watching this or reading this article, um, it, uh, I guess so I think it seemed like you help all kinds of people. They're not just like people who are living on the streets, which,
Mm-mm.
no difference between somebody who's got a
Yep.
job and can
Yep.
pay their needs and everything. But so maybe just speak to that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because some people might maybe count themselves
Oh,
out, you
yes.
know?
What I always say to those women, and I had someone in my office here 2 weeks ago who I thought was going to be a donor meeting, and I was like, okay, nope, this is you need to come to
Yeah.
classes, you need to participate in here. We've got a space for you. Really is that we all lose when we compare
Yeah.
pain.
Yeah.
That someone's worst circumstances are no worse than yours. That just because someone has had it worse doesn't mean that you don't need help and that you don't deserve it. And that you do not have to walk alone. That is a choice that you are making. And there is a place in women who really do care whether or not you show up. We know your names. We pray over every single person that walks through our door. In fact, one of the things that I'm excited about is we will have the initials of every woman we've served this year on a tree in our conference room as a
Hmm.
sign that you're not the only one. I jokingly told one of my favorite clients that I worked with last year, you are very special, but you're not unique.
Yeah.
We have heard every story. Your
Yeah.
hardship is nothing we can't handle.
Right. Amazing. So it is a faith-based organization, but
Yep.
uh
Not at all a
is that a big
requirement.
deal for people or not? Okay, so you're not going to be like, so you're not.
Nope, not in the
Okay.
least. It is completely to your preference. If you ask us not to pray, we're not going to pray. If you
Yeah.
don't want to, the only thing what we're very upfront with, like all of our restore classes, they're practical.
Yeah.
Side by side program, it's practical.
Okay.
The faith based, ironically, is the only thing that costs money. The Bible studies have a $12 charge because they're a 9-week class, and we don't want someone to sign up for 9 weeks and take a seat from someone who's not going to show up. And so it
Right.
puts a
Right.
little bit of skin in the game,
Yeah.
but we provide the book, we provide the
Yeah.
childcare, we provide the space, we provide the food. So
Yeah.
it's a very low commitment for 9
Yeah.
weeks of class to pay a $12 fee.
Right. Right.
So,
Okay.
but
Wow.
yeah, everything else is completely free. And if you
Okay.
tell us that this is not something like we do not, any personal belief you have, we may challenge it and ask, do you want to keep it? And if you say yes, it doesn't matter what that belief is.
Right.
Like, that's your belief. Our
Yeah.
job is not to convince you otherwise. Our job is that
Right.
you recognize what you believe and you are ready to continue believing that. And
Yeah.
so it can be anything from um, being a victim all the way to, I'm not beautiful. Like, you
Right.
can believe those things about you. Our job is not to convince you you are. You have to decide to change that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's never something we're going to do.
Okay. So what is the biggest need that you would like people to know obviously there's a huge need for what you guys are doing. And
Yeah.
before this, I mean, there apparently there wasn't any non-government thing doing this
Well, and
as far
even
as
governmental, like there's not really
right.
doing what we do. We had women coming from 16 different counties last year. We've already had women come from 7 this year.
So people are
If
driving a
someone,
long way.
they are driving an
Wow.
hour to an hour and a half to participate in classes and to take part in our services, because there's
Wow.
no one that does what we do, even in Davidson
Amazing.
County, to the level that we do
Really?
it. Yep.
Wow. Amazing.
Yep.
That's
So we're
hard.
kind of the hidden gem of Maury County.
Yeah. Amazing. Wow. And you're only just getting started, really. It sounds like
We
it's just
really are.
amazing. So
Yep.
so the response seems to be people love it. People's lives are changing.
Yep.
How can the
come be
average
part of
person
it.
watching this. Okay.
Yeah, come be part of it. Whether like ask yourself what you can give, whether it be time, talent, or treasure.
Right.
We need all three.
Yeah.
Um, like you said earlier, like we've got a host of volunteer needs. We do need support. Like if you're watching this, and I would say, like, I'll be as bold to say, if your heart was touched by this, please go on our website and do a special gift of
Yeah.
$50, $100. Like
Yeah.
do what, please give,
Right.
so that we can continue here in Maury County and can grow. That is our
Yeah.
heart, is to continue growing. We've got space. Like the benefit of being where we are in this space, we can reconfigure stuff. We can add more advocates if the
Okay.
community steps up and continues to support this.
That's
We'll
awesome.
stay as small as the community has us be, or as
Right.
big as the community lets us grow.
Well, this is the kind of thing that can really change a society, you know.
Yes.
This is a big deal. Um, so yeah, I'm excited to see where you guys are gonna go. This is amazing.
Yep.
I'm so glad to be able to talk um and dig into this more.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they run these organizations and we hear them. We know a lot of people know the name 431, maybe see you at the first Fridays or something, or
Yep.
but we never went up and talked to, well, we didn't have an hour to talk about, all this stuff. And even, you might hear a few things here and there, but there's some awesome people doing awesome things that are really changing.
Yep.
I mean, what you're doing is really changing this area, and
Yep.
and it seems like multiple, like people
Yep.
all over. So this is really vital. So
Well, and
so
the
cool.
thing that people really, I think, what I'll just leave you with is, you know her. You know who we
Yeah.
serve. And I tell people
Yeah.
all the time, like, it's your daycare teacher, it's your neighbor,
Yeah.
it's your mom, it's your sister, it's your best friend. We may have a voice in her life and you don't even know it, because we served
Mm.
181 unique women in 25. We have already served 90 unique women in
Oh,
26, and it's only
wow.
May. And
Amazing.
so w- we probably have more of a voice in the
Wow.
people around you if you know someone in this situation. The number of women who reach out to us who choose to never take a step forward, they,
Yeah.
there's a lot of them, but
Yeah.
we are here and we will help.
Okay.
And it's who you know. You know
Right.
the people that need us. And if you have someone in that situation, I would also say, keep encouraging them to reach out. Like, there are women who know about us for months to years before they reach out, and it's someone
Right.
else that says, no, you really, please go,
Yeah.
just talk to them, go reach out to them, go see what they'll do, show up for a class, I'll
Yeah.
go with you.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
the change too.
That's great. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. So I even thought of somebody right while you're talking, because I was,
Yep.
yeah, so great.
And the other thing I'll just say, I'll just throw this out here. We just did it this week, but every couple months, we actually literally give away the book. We wrote a 6-hour training on how to mentor women who've been through these hardships, how to ask good questions, how to listen. We do live back and forth training exercises. It's free. We'll even feed
Okay.
you lunch. We just want more people to be equipped with the tools to change
Wow.
Columbia.
Okay. So if somebody's interested in that, they can just call you or
They
email.
can go on the website
Okay.
and look for side-by-side training on the volunteer opportunities, or reach out
Okay.
via the volunteer, reach out to Sarah and she'll be able to
Okay.
connect you.
So great. Wow. So much I'm so glad to know more about you. This is so wonderful. You're doing a great thing, Rachel, and thanks to all your volunteers. What a
Yeah. We couldn't do it
great
without
thing.
them.
Yeah.
So I hope to see you at
Amazing.
our ribbon cutting on Tuesday, Gabe.
Oh, that's right. Okay, let's tell people. So that's Tuesday.
Yep.
What time?
So we have a lot going on. The whole day is an open house. So we have blocked it off. Our staff has no meetings, so that we are here to
Okay.
tour and to tell more about what we've got going on. We have a ribbon cutting with Maury Alliance at 10. That's already looking to
Okay.
be pretty crowded, but you're welcome to join
Awesome.
us for that. But then at 1 o'clock, we'll actually have a panel of volunteers share their experience with 431
Mm.
and
Okay.
how they've been changed by volunteering with us. And then at 3:30, Justin and I will actually be able to do some coffee chats and
Okay.
explain more about our heart, our vision, where we're going from here, where where
Wow.
where we hope 431 will be, what we thought, like all those behind the scenes questions. Like, we'll be here to answer them and tell you all the funny stories that you want to know about what that was like.
Yeah. Wow, what a great way to yeah, so I'm so excited. People will have something they can actually go do once they hear this.
Yes.
So, oh, that's
Yep.
awesome. So great. Okay. Well, thanks, Rachel, and thanks everybody for watching. Please be sure to subscribe to What's Up Columbia and go check out 431 Ministries website and get in the know about what these guys are doing and go volunteer, do whatever came into your heart when you listen to this. This is so great for Maury County and beyond. So,
Thanks for your
adios.
time, Gabe.